All right. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Cinta. I'm sorry I'm running a little late, but we are here today to talk about navigating the holiday season. And if you, I'll give you guys a minute to get on here, but this is a tough time of the year. It always is. I have been doing weight loss, medical weight loss now for 16 years, and my 16th Christmas. And the issues are always the same. And I want to just make sure that you guys come on board and learn some of the things that I've learned over the 16 years to help guide you so that you, even if you're not perfect, which we certainly don't expect, it's hard enough when there's food everywhere. But you need to learn, I believe, to at least stay around that 75-80%, on board category so that you will be able to get through the holidays and not drop off. This is a time for us where people they start to spin out of control, and then they become very embarrassed, and then we don't hear from them maybe until June. And so I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you all, and that we are able to just navigate this and do great, have fun, enjoy yourselves, maybe take the focus a little bit off of food and put it on some other things during the holidays, and just have a great time. So let me say hello. Hi, Sherry. How are you? Hi, Lena. Hi, Cindy. Hi, hi, Brian. There's a new person on our screen. My husband. Thank you for joining. So anyhow, we will start, and you guys can pick up as you go. If you have any friends that you think might benefit from this, add them anytime. What I do want to say is ask questions as we go. Take advantage of this one-on-one time we have. This is why we do the live, so that I can help answer questions that are specific to your needs. So you get a benefit from joining on, and that is one-on-one attention for the things that you struggle with. All right, so in case you haven't noticed, we are a little holiday obsessed. We've been doing a series for holidays. If you're not aware, please join us on the Dr. Wendy Cinta Instagram and Medical Weight Loss of New York Facebook, where we are doing a holiday series starring Saki about the 10 different things that you should focus on during the holidays. And some of these things we're gonna actually review today. But that gives you an opportunity to see some snippets and to have some fun with us on that, and also to DM and comment. We'll also include some helpful links on that. So check it out and follow us on those two mediums if you would, and you'll find some great benefit, and you'll get some laughs from my crazy dog. All right. So yes, it really does upset me this time of the year to see people derailed by the same things that I saw last year and the year before. And a lot of times it is just maybe even one day where you struggle that just starts to send you off, where you get that negative, self-talk about you stink, you're not worth it, don't even bother. We have to make sure we grab a hold of that, and we treat each night that you have an event as something very different. Okay? It is isolated. It is not failure if you have a bad moment or a bad day or even a bad week. The point is to just pull yourself back on and to know that you've got support, especially from Medical Weight Loss of New York and our staff here. So, all right. So I think I captured most of this. So yeah, just so you guys know, we're not trying to lose massive amounts of weight during the holidays. Nobody is. Nobody does. But what we really want to do is stay very close to where you started with in early December after Thanksgiving. And then to be able to just, if you gain a pound or two, that's easy to get off. What you don't want to do is just start a binging cycle where you just keep going and going and going. And by the time January comes around, it's significant, and then you feel hopeless. We don't want any of that. We want to be able to make the holidays, which we know are going to come every year at this time, something that we can navigate through and not have any issues. Okay, so for those of you who did the 8-week challenge with us, and I hope you did great. If you did, just chime in. And by the way, chime in anytime with comments during the course of the Facebook Live. You probably have learned some things along the way, and this little session here is going to give you an opportunity to talk about the things you've done better, and also to learn to implement those things as the holidays return. We did the 8-week challenge right before Thanksgiving to kind of take advantage of that 8 weeks, if you haven't done it, where there's a lot of routine. And so what we want to do is now move forward from that and just stay, maintaining that weight loss and also just take it in through the new year. Okay, so ask questions as we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to just start with my top 10 things that I have pulled together over the course of 16, 17 years doing this that I see people struggle with and how to navigate that. All right, so the very first one is to have a plan before you go to a party, okay? Now, what does that mean? First of all, let's take an event like, your aunt's having a Christmas party, and there's going to be certain things there that you want to eat, and what should you do? So I would say the very first thing is don't ever go hungry. And I've talked about this in some of my little snippet videos, but it's just like going grocery shopping hungry. You don't want to go to a party hungry. You want to have some food in your belly, and you want to have some healthy food in your belly. So one of the best things you can do is to have a protein shake before you go, or to have some fruit with maybe a little protein with it, some cheese or a few nuts or something, and a big glass of water so that that fiber fills you up. Brian, my husband, got me interested in some of the stuff that they're doing with Arnold Schwarzenegger's new podcast. And one of the things he talked about was really great. If you put fruit in your complex carbohydrates in your belly and you add a glass of water, it actually stimulates GLP-1, which is the same receptor that is stimulated by these injectable drugs you keep hearing about. So there's ways to kind of make a creative GLP-1 all by yourself, and you don't have to get the expensive drugs that can be very difficult to even obtain right now. So that is a great way to fill yourself up before you go to a party. I personally like to have a shake before I go because I know, all right, I got something nutritious in me. And then, you want to also, after that, go with a specific idea of what you're going to eat. Okay, so what you can do, and what I strongly suggest, is bring something that you can nibble on if it looks like only bad foods that you don't want. So a great idea is to do a veggie tray or something like that, where you can just keep filling your plate with veggies. You can still walk around and, enjoy the party, but not feel like you have to keep dipping and snacking and, grabbing more food and beverages and things like that. So that's another way to help to help have a party plan. And then, I think the most important thing is just don't go in blind. It's just like what we recommend for people when they go to restaurants. Go look at the menu and see what you're going to order, and, go in with a plan. Maybe you don't want to have the bread. Maybe you want to just have one glass of wine, and you're going to order, a salad with chicken on it, whatever. But don't go in with an open menu without a plan. So it's the same idea. Have a sense of what you're going to eat, and then we'll talk about some other strategies like filling your plate as you go. All right, so step one, have a party plan. All right. Hi, Andrea. How are you? All right, step two, which really kind of falls along the same lines as the first one. Go in with a plan, but again, never go hungry. That is one of the worst things you can do is, kind of not, what a lot of people do is say, I'm not going to eat during the day so that I can eat at the party. That is the absolute wrong way to go, because what happens then is your metabolism gets down-regulated, your sugar drops, you're going to go there, you're going to be starving, you're probably more likely to overeat, and you're doing it probably later at night when all of that, food kind of sticks to you and it's harder for you to burn up. So make sure that you go with a plan and that you fill yourself up. So never go to an event hungry. Have a party plan. All right, number 3. I did a video on this recently. I don't have a plate here, but imagine that's our plate, okay? And what you want to do, oh, that's terrible. That's not helpful. All right, let's make that our plate. Now, what you want to do is you want to fill half of it with your protein, okay? Because that protein is going to fill you up. If you have enough, like 30 grams at a time, it goes directly into your muscle. And muscle drives metabolism. So that's going to fill you up and it's going to help feed your metabolism, okay? So most important thing is grabbing your protein. If you don't know where protein comes from, it's your meats, it's your fish, it's your dairy, it is your sometimes nuts, sometimes beans, tofu, those kind of things if you're vegetarian, is your protein, okay? Now, the next 2/3 should be your fruit and your vegetables and that kind of thing. Okay, now not the sides that are really heavy. You want to kind of just make it something that's more just specifically those 2 food categories. And then the last little third on the second half is going to be where you put your carby things that you want to taste and enjoy, but not overdo. So you can always have some of them, but you don't want to fill the plate with them and end up in trouble. Okay? So that is how you fill your plate. And really, it's not just for the holidays. You want to be able to fill your plate like that, in general when you are at a party, or even when you're serving yourself at dinner. Okay? All right. So next is, I really love this one, and since I've been doing this myself, it's made a big difference, and that is exercise the morning of a holiday or the morning of an event. Even if it's just getting outside and walking. It's snowy out here in Syracuse, New York, and we all have to muster the weather in different times. But what we have to be careful of is not to say, oh, it's snowing, I'm not going to do anything. It should be, oh, it's snowing, I'm going to put on the right clothing, and I'm going to go out there and go for a walk, even if only my eyes show. And I will make sure I get out and I move for at least for a period of time that's going to make a difference and going to motivate me mentally to eat well, and physically to help as well, because it gives you a little bit more wiggle room if you do that. All right, so exercise the morning of an event, and you can even exercise afterwards. This is a lovely time of the year to go and look at lights and just kind of walk around and enjoy the snow. Even though winter is a very quiet time, it can be such a very it's just so solace to be able to walk around and just look at the snow and look at the houses and enjoy the time of quiet and peace. So I would recommend that as well. All right. How are we doing over here? No questions so far. We'll keep going. So now this is a topic that we talk about a lot, and that is the alcohol. Because we definitely, we think about what we're eating. It's in front of us, but sometimes we're not paying much attention to what we're drinking. So if you have one of those folks in your life that just keeps filling your glass, keep a close eye on them, because that can actually count for hundreds and hundreds of calories if someone keeps giving you more wine or getting you a new drink, that kind of thing. And get them out to the side and be in charge of your own glass. We've talked about this before too. Downsize your glasses. Okay, so if you have a big glass, you're going to fill it with more wine or more beer or a more heavy mixed drink. And if you have a smaller glass, you're not going to feel like you're missing out because that space isn't consumed. We love to consume space. So use smaller glasses. You can also use smaller plates. That's the same, thought process. And but pay close attention to what you're drinking. The reason for that is not just because of the calories of the alcohol, because that's something. But when we drink alcohol, we tend to snack more and eat a little bit more. We're socializing, so we're not paying as much attention, to what we're eating. Our sleep is disturbed. You don't get that restorative REM sleep when you're drinking alcohol. Plus, you have to get up and go to the bathroom usually because of the effects of the alcohol on our kidneys. And then you tend to, not get as much sleep, and then the next day probably eat a little more carbs because you're so tired. Okay, so all of those things are reasons why you have to be very, very careful with alcohol at parties. All right. Okay, let's keep going. And yes, we already talked about that. Don't let someone else be in charge of filling your glass. All right, now, I know I'm going to get pushed back on this one, but it really is important to journal during the holidays. And again, it doesn't, as I've said before, it's not about counting all your calories when you journal. It is about just making sure that you're catching those behaviors that can get in the way of your success. Okay, so this happens to me all the time. When I start journaling, I realize for sure I will go through periods where I meal skip, and then I'll get hungry if I'm, seeing patients, and I'm not going to go grab broccoli. I don't have that nearby, so I'll find something I can put in my mouth that's going to increase my glucose quickly, and that usually ends up being something that's not necessarily good for you. Okay, and I wouldn't know that if I didn't start journaling and looking at my behaviors. So journaling will help you kind of keep an eye on your behaviors. I highly recommend it on the days that you have the event so that you can, stay close to what your calorie goals should be. And hopefully you know what they are based on your metabolic rate. You can look that up for your age. It's all over. You can find all sort of calculations for that. And just try to stay as close as you can to whatever your maintenance number would be during the holidays. Okay? So that is something that I would definitely work on, just doing a little journaling, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We actually did a pilot study in our office on a tool that we were using, and we found out that people that just journaled 2 days a week, a little bit of food, were much better at losing weight than those that didn't. And in general, for journaling, it's 50% more weight loss for people who journal regularly than those who don't. And it's all about the amnesia calories, okay? We don't want to be putting things in our mouth and not taking into account them. And we do that when we're stressed and when, things are crazy like they are this time of the year. All right. Hi, Sherry. I gave up alcohol for 5 months last year, hit training several times per week, low carb carnivore, all that, no weight loss. Oh, okay. Wow. Let's take a look at this. I think one of the things that is super frustrating when you're losing weight or when you're working on a weight loss plan is overestimating what the exercise does. Okay. Now, if you gave up alcohol and alcohol is a big issue for you, then you should lose weight. If you're someone where the alcohol calories don't matter that much, or don't contribute to significant weight gain for you, then that may not be the issue. The high intensity interval training, it feels so good and exercise is so good for you, but there is a counter to exercise, and that is hunger. So when you are in the weight loss phase, you want to exercise and titrate your exercise to your hunger. Because if you're doing high intensity interval training and you're getting hungry, you look at the numbers that, the machine or that your phone says you should be able to burn off doing that. And then your brain says, I can eat those calories. And even if you're not eating those calories and you're not hungry that day, it'll happen the next day. So titrate your exercise to your hunger, because it is the food that causes the weight loss, not the exercise. For women, for men, maybe a little bit more exercise contributing to weight loss, but very slightly. It is all about the food. Weight loss happens in the kitchen, not at the gym. Maintenance is where exercise becomes critical, because it's going to keep you between the lines in so many ways. Okay, but during the weight loss phase, if you're just walking and getting 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, that's enough for the weight loss phase. Okay. And low carb, I always love low carb. Carbs are what got us in trouble in the first place. When we started to go low fat back in the 80s, we started to go high carb, and high carb is what led to, the huge obesity epidemic we're still in the middle of today, because we've never changed it. So just be careful of that. And just, keep an eye on that particular issue. I'm seeing a big vegetarian push right now, or vegan push, but people need to understand that if you're going to truly become a vegetarian or a vegan, you need to learn about vegetables, and you need to learn what have high protein, what the calories are in them. For vegetarians, you got to be really careful not to overdo cheese and dairy, because it can be very, very heavy. Nuts, those kind of things. Okay. So it can work against you. So what I see a lot of times is people who are going for the more vegan or vegetarian lifestyle end up eating tons and tons of carbs, and they become carbivores instead of carnivores. So that is another thing we see. Stay calm, journal regular. Yes, Sherry, you are so on. Stay calm, journal regularly. Holiday is one day at a time. Exactly, which is going to take me to my next tip, which is a holiday and not a holly year. We'll get to that in a second. That's why I'm coming to you. Awesome, Sherry. Oxalates. Yes, I'm with you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's talk about holiday versus a holly year. So this is where so many of us get ourselves in trouble. And, this whole thing that they're doing now where we have alcohol-free January, I'm like, why are we doing this? This seems a little strange to me. Because what I notice as a physician, especially a weight loss physician, is it encourages you to drink more during the month of December, because you think in your brain, oh, I'm going to go without it in January. And so what happens? We're actually seeing the weight that is gained during the Christmas season and, the holiday season in general, to be much more than it used to be before they started that. Because more alcohol in December means more food, means worse sleep, means more giving up, that kind of thing. So be very, very careful of that. So holiday, not hollow month or hollow year. It's a day. So every time you have an event, it's a day, okay? You open the door to the carbs and the things that you maybe normally would not have, a dessert or two, or a tasting, which we'll get to in a second. But what you don't want to do is just open it so wide that there's no end, and that door never gets closed, because it takes only a 2-year-old to tell you that carbs and sugar are addicting. They can, you expose them to it when they're children to it when they're young, and you see that they can't get enough, right? So it's the same thing with us as adults. We have to be so careful. When we open that door, we have to decide how far open it's going to be, and we have to close it at the end of that event and take the next day and get right back on track. I think it was one day at a time, Sherry said it. Yes, absolutely. You got to just focus on one day at a time, one event at a time. Go in with a plan. Be careful when you're there. Try not to drink too much. Try to fill your plate the right way. And you're going to be fine. And you're going to get through the holidays fine. And you're not going to have that talk that I hear every single day in my office, which is, well, I always gain weight during the holidays, so I'm just going to kind of, prepare for that and just hope it's not too much. No. December comes every year, okay, right? It's not a surprise. We know it's going to happen, so prepare, get through it. Don't go backwards. Staying the same is fine, but get ready for a new year and a new you, and let's not backtrack. That really can get in the way of your success. All right. So, look at what you did, Sherry. You got me going on a tangent. All right. Now, so the holiday, open the door, close the door. Open the door, close the door. Okay? New Year's Day, start all over. The day after, the 26th, the day after Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, start over. Okay? It is a day, not a month, not a week, not a year. All right. Next we're on already up to number 8. So I really love this. I don't remember when I first started talking about this, but I think that for me in general, it is a good rule, and for many people, it allows you to not feel deprived, and that is the 3-bite rule. Does anyone know about the 3-bite rule? Any of you on here who have maybe heard me talk about it before? Well, if not, I'll tell you right now. So here's the deal. You can have 3 bites of anything at a party or at an event, as long as it's not a trigger food for you. So the reason why I say 3 bites is we have this system called the limbic system, which is our pleasure system, and it's always looking for a good time, okay? So when you stimulate the limbic system with something you enjoy, let's just say chocolate. Who doesn't love that? You have a piece of chocolate, okay? But you have a piece of milk chocolate. Well, milk chocolate has fat, salt, and sugar in the perfect combination to make it addicting. So you might go back for a second bite. You might go back for a third. If you go back for a third and you can't stop, that's a food that's on the no-no category, because that is a food that triggers you, okay? If you switch instead to something like dark chocolate, which doesn't have as much salt, doesn't have as much fat, but still has a chocolate flavor, you might find that you can end with 2 or 3 bites and still feel very satisfied and feel like you got that chocolate hit that you wanted, okay? So why do we say 3 bites? It has to do with that limbic system receptors and how stimulated they are. So you probably notice this if you have a yummy dessert of some kind, that you take that first bite and you're like, oh God, this is heaven. And then you take the second bite and you're like, it's still good. And then by the time you take the third or the fourth, if you really look at what you're eating, it may still taste good, but it's not as good as it was on the first bite, right? And that's because now the receptors are becoming full. And so your brain is kind of like, yeah, I'm used to this now. I got it. So if you can close that loop at bite 3 and move on, you're not going to feel deprived, and you're going to feel like you enjoyed that food, and we're not overstimulated, and also, didn't turn into something that you felt like you were trying to always get that first bite taste to. I hope I explained that right. I like that, Cindy. I sometimes share a dessert to make sure I can take a 4th bite. Right. I mean, it's true. You just have to think about it like this. When the receptors are full after the 3rd bite, it's like, it could be broccoli. It's going to give you the same level of stimulation as broccoli does. So just think about that piece of cake or whatever it is, like broccoli. If you can push it away, then that's a food that you can use the 3-bite rule on. If you can't, then it's not. It's a trigger food, and that's not part of that equation. All right. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully that allows you to enjoy some of the things that you may not normally be able to have. In general, though, I would say, holidays aside, just be careful because you don't want to open Pandora's box and get stimulated by things that you've already mastered when you're really doing well with a weight loss plan. So you got to kind of, figure out what foods are the foods that you can do this with, and what are good substitutions if you find foods that you can't. Okay? All right. 2 more rules and then we're done. So number 9 is just take the focus off of food. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I mean, here we are, we're in the holidays. We have not seen people for a long time. We have not, a lot of times, I mean, with my own family, we haven't gotten together for Thanksgiving and Christmas together as a family since COVID started. So being able to get together and to catch up on things and to spend time talking to people and just kind of, catching up with them and going for a walk, maybe even like go to a movie, go bowling, I don't know, just different things you can do to enjoy yourself. Our kids like to play hockey at wintertime. We have a big hill in the backyard, so a lot of times we'll go sledding in the middle of Christmas too. Gets harder, of course, as you get older, but do things that take the focus off of food is the real point there. That's so sweet, Sherry. Thank you. Thank you. I really, really love, I love being part of the journey with you guys, and I love supporting you and helping you, and hopefully you feel that our office is a safe place and that you get the support that you need, because it's hard, man. The struggle's real. We all struggle. We just all struggle with different things when it comes to food, and part of it is because the stuff out there that's being offered to us now as food is not really food. It's things that stimulate our appetite and our the food companies know how to make things addictive, and they do a very good job at it, don't they? All right. So take the focus off of food, and then finally, the last thing is watch the negative self-talk. Okay, celebrate your successes, but don't beat yourself up if you have a bad day. All right. So for those of you who did the 8-week challenge, just think about, what do I do differently now that I didn't do before the challenge? And how can I take that into the New Year's season and apply it to the rest of, my time that I'm working on my weight or just eating in general, okay? These rules are not, they're not even rules, they're guidelines. These guidelines are not meant to be very structured during an only weight loss period and then you let everything go. Okay, weight loss is a journey, and maintaining weight loss can be very challenging. So it is important to get certain behaviors in place, understand that there's going to sometimes be a time where you fall off, get yourself back on track, put the blinders back on, and just keep marching forward. You always should remind yourself, how do I feel when I'm eating, a certain way? I know for me, bread's my gateway drug. It is for a lot of people. So if I have bread, I start to get inflamed. I start to not feel as good. I'm not as sharp, and so I really have to be careful with that particular category. And it also kind of leads me into foods that, like, bread makes me want chocolate, and chocolate makes me want more chocolate. So anyhow, we have to be really, really careful to make changes that are good for us, and then feed that with positive self-talk and be proud of ourselves if we're, making changes that are really leading to a healthier life. We're able to move better. We don't have as much inflammation. We're eating cleaner, okay? The scale is important, but what's even more important is, what's your blood pressure doing? How are you sleeping? How does your cholesterol look? All those things can be made better without even necessarily seeing the scale move, but yet you're healthier. So those are all things that you should be focusing on as well. All right. Those are the main things I wanted to talk about today. And I did have a couple questions come in. If any of you have any questions right now, then just let me know. And just pop them up there in the feed, okay? So, I like this one. Jennifer said, I always gain 5 to 7 pounds. Words are hard, people. Words are hard. I always gain 5 to 7 pounds during the holidays. I don't know how to change that with all the holiday parties. All right, those of you who are on, I bet you have some advice for Jennifer. I will tell you that I hear that in almost every room right now, that people have already got this sort of defeatist, attitude, like, I give up during the holidays, I let myself go, blah, 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 blah. You have to not look at food and health and eating like, a start and stop period. It is a continuous line. And it is a door that you open to things that are not good for us, and then you close it immediately. Okay, so everybody knows homemade pie, not so good for us. Does it taste yummy? Of course it does, especially if you have someone who knows what they're doing. But can you sit there and eat pie every day and lose weight? No. Can you sit there and eat pie every day and be healthy? Probably not, because it's got a lot of sugar and other pro-inflammatory foods that don't make you feel so good. And the more sugar you have, the more sugar you have. It's just one of those things that's going to beget even more of the bad stuff. So it is a continuum. And so you want to just, focus on maintaining during the holidays and taking a look back at the 10 things we talked about and just implementing them. Even if you just do one, it's going to make the whole holiday season better for you than if you did not do it. Okay? So that's Jennifer's question. Brianna said, my mother-in-law is a major food pusher. So, yes, we all know those people, I'm sure. What do you do when you have people constantly pushing you to eat or drink more? Oh, look at that. Cindy's right on top of this one. Sometimes there are relentless food pushers who will embarrass you in front of the group and guilt you into taking more food. That is so true. Then they watch to see if you eat it. Ugh, how do you get them off you? All right, so this sounds like every Italian relative that I have. It's all, food is love, and, if you don't eat your food, you don't love me. So I can be a food pusher too, and it's pushing the food around on my plate and making people think that I'm actually eating it when I don't. All right, so there are lots of tips and tricks and stuff, and you take a bite in front of that person and you be careful. You might want to throw a little bit out later so they can give you more, and you can have fake more, and then do your own food pushing, and then come up with it. If there's a dog nearby, you can feed it to the dog, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is don't fall into that trap, and don't, your health is worth more than the guilt that you feel for their food pushing. So you just have to, you have to kind of live by that rule. And sometimes you have to just explain yourself. Say, listen, I'm doing so good with my health, and I just want to stay that way, and I will definitely try this, but I'm not going to eat tons and tons of it because I don't want to get off track. You can be, have faith more. I know, I'm so stupid. I'm so ridiculous in the things I say, Sherry. Yeah, we really do. We have to own this, and we have to stop trying to please everybody at the risk of ourselves. And I know for sure that people who struggle with their weight tend to be the ones that are always doing everything for everybody else and neglecting themselves, okay? So as I tell my patients, it doesn't matter whether they're happy that I'm not eating their food, or that I'm eating their food. What matters is, am I happy, and will I feel good at the end of the day? And will I be able to get up the next day and be motivated to continue to stay healthy? It's really, really hard to do if you're, allowing people to run the show. So you just can't have that. And depending on your personality and the personality of the pusher, you just have to be careful how you navigate that. But I think in general, if you're worried about hurting their feelings, there's no way around an Italian grandma or aunt or, any of these people, mother. You just really, sometimes it's just better to just kind of do the play game and just, kind of sneak it around and cover it up and moving around and get rid of it and feed it to the dog, that kind of thing. All right. Let's see. We got a couple more. Actually, just one more. Mark said, I'm good if food isn't in front of me, but when I'm at these events and see all this amazing food, I just go nuts. How do I not overeat? Okay, so I think we talked a little bit about this, but the way that you don't overeat is you fill up before you go. Have a protein shake or some other things that are going to fill you up, like we talked about the poor man's GLP-1 with like fruits, vegetables, with water, to kind of help that fiber just work like a GLP-1 medication does, and fill you up that way. Protein fills you up. Healthy fats fill you up. And like we talked about, complex carbohydrates that are healthy for you. Carbohydrates are not the bad guy in general, but it's the starchy carbohydrates. It's the stuff that is shelf ready that gets us into trouble. And the whites, if you don't know that, it's the pasta, the rice, the potatoes, and the pasta, rice, potatoes. I'm forgetting something there. Pasta, rice, potatoes. This is terrible. It'll come to me. Anyhow, the whites. The whites. So the things that are carby and snacky and give us no real value. Breads, did I say that? Breads too. All right. So the whites. So just watch that food group and stay away from it. If you're going to have carbs, have complex carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, or whole grains. Ancient grains are the ones that are really important because they're not pulverized into nothingness like the grains that we have now. Even, you might find whole wheat flour, but if it's whole wheat flour that is pulverized or enriched, it's still going to come back to turn back into something that becomes relatively useless to your body. So the ancient grains are ones that are still together and haven't been, haven't gotten the pith and the seeds and all that kind of stuff out of it. It keeps it in, which really supplies fiber and some other things that help us stay healthy. So, all right. Let me see if there's anything else. Is there anything from you guys? It looks good. Oh, Sherry, I have what I call museum food. I say that looks great. If it doesn't mean I have to touch it or eat it. That's good. Museum food. I like that. That was good. All right. So I think that is it. The only thing I will say is just, holidays are such a lovely time. I mean, this is one of my favorite times of the year for sure. But I think we have to just, especially when it comes to holidays like Christmas, not get caught up in all the frenzy. Turn your phone down, turn social media off, get into a good book, be with people you love, focus on the peace that is there during the season. If you just get rid of all that crazy stimulation that's coming at you from all directions, and just narrow it down to simple things. Focus on a healthy, wonderful dinner with your family at Christmas time. Focus on, being minimalistic with gifts and gift buying and stuff like that, because you see what's going on out there. It's all meant to make us all crazy. Minimize the chaos so that you can enjoy the season and really just, enjoy the time that is not food related with your family. So that's how I'd like to end. And we will be doing more challenges next year, so keep an eye out for that on Instagram and Facebook. And again, our Instagram is Dr. Wendy Cinta. Our Facebook is Medical Weight Loss of New York. So have your friends follow. We'll be doing all sorts of recipes and things like that coming up in our upcoming challenges. And we may not just do challenges related to diet. We might do challenges related to hormones, related to sleep, some other categories. So stay tuned. How to handle stress, how to improve your mood. I see a lot of stress and depression and anxiety this time of the year, and we want to make sure we get a handle on that and just ride out the craziness of the season without getting too wound up. All right. So I have nothing else. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. Stay in tune with us through Facebook and Instagram, because the holiday challenge has still got a couple more weeks. And enjoy my little Saki, who I'm having a great time with. And have a lovely season. And we'll see you in the new year on our next live. Bye now.